Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Dandadan Season 2, Episode 4. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up immediately where the last episode left off. The Keto family is berating Momo, saying this is all her fault. Literally, the town has to be evacuated, and look at all this lava coming down. It's like, if you would let us continue sacrificing, it's because of you, because the great serpent is dead. But Momo's like, this doesn't make any sense. The legend's about it soaring up into the heavens, but it's like, this thing can't stay in the sun or it'll die like it did. So she's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would the legend be based around that? And then she pieced it together and thought about the geyser that exploded. It's like, that's why they left the hot springs. It's kind of what the character's name is, Manjiro, as we learn later on. The priest kid that she ran into in episode 1 of the season, of this season, and he talked about the fear basically making people believe in something like they're so desperate for any solution, and that fear overrides any rational thinking, and they're like, sacrifices had to be made to this serpent god, and they and even Momo's like, the message somewhere got distorted and misconstrued along the way, and it's like, that's what it was really about. That's why the hot springs were really here. They were always supposed to be the warning sign that the volcano was about to explode. This never had anything to do with we still don't know if there's any relation, but it seems like probably not. It seems like the serpent was a completely unrelated thing that became associated with it, because I'm guessing the original Keto, the Keto family ancestors are the one that perpetrated that lie. And just some misunderstanding, they probably associated, hey, we need to make this sacrifice, and then it didn't erupt anymore, and they put two and two together, oh, this is what this is all about, and then proceeded to continue it for generation after generation after generation. So but Momo is trying to get into action. She's taking the snake's corpse. At first, I thought, she's going to try to take it to the volcano and burn it, but she's tossing it, dragging it through this town, and she goes over to the hot springs. I was like, she puts one side of it on the thing. I'm like, essentially it's butthole, I believe, and I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, are you trying to cap that off to stop the eruption? What's going on? She's turning it into a giant fire hose, so the water rushing through it will mix with its mucus or bodily function, so that it'll act as even more powerful what's the word I'm looking for, to snuff out the flames. But the problem is there's so much, and it's so widespread. Plus she's got the Keto family attacking her because they're like, oh, how dare you desecrate the great serpent. She's like, shut up, you idiots. I'm trying to save everyone's lives and stop all this. But they're like, we'll sacrifice you to our god. She's like, well, you moved on from your god. Now that this god is dead, you're moving on to another god. You're sacrificing people too. But then, Manjiro shows up, because it turns out he's actually one of Seiko's disciples. And the reason why he only acted now is because she gave him the most vague of instructions, hey, yo, 3 teenagers are going to roll up there and click. And she never explained anything. So when he ran into Momo, he's just like, oh, there's some random tourist. He didn't piece it together because Gigi and Ken weren't with her. So you're like, Jesus, Psycho, you kind of screwed the pooch on this. Why did you give, she just goes with the flow and just kind of was thinking that was enough. I guess she just assumed they were all going to be together, but probably would have done better, giving some descriptions, giving some names, but you're like, nah, it's going to be 3 teenagers heading that way, click. But either way, Boy steps in. I feel like he probably will be a recurring character going forward, because he is in the outro. So I don't know if he's going to start going to their school or not, or what. But we'll probably see him from time to time, maybe. But he steps in and he's fighting off the Keto family, and he's using his martial arts. But sadly, Evil Eye steps in while Momo's doing what she's doing. And sadly, destroys more of the snake, so you're disrupting her whole op, because he's trying to kill everybody. You got to give it up to him though, when the time came, Manjiro, Momo, and Mama Keto all worked together. It was actually pretty dope seeing them actually fight together in this regard, because you got to give it up to Manjiro, and obviously Mama Keto doing her Jennifer Lopez Anaconda move. And also Momo coming in with a clutch saves, like, yo, people were about to like feel the full weight of those kicks, and she was dragging people out of the way. It's like Momo was coming in clutch. I mean, some of them were just managing to dodge it on her. I think like Manjiro dodged like one or two, but like it is mainly Momo coming in clutch. But the problem is, I think she's been pushing herself too much. She's using her power so consistently that eventually she can't even pull out like she can't pull out her psychic arms anymore, because I think she's just like, because it's interesting because I don't think we've ever seen Momo reach her limit before. I think this is the first time that's ever happened, because she's been doing a lot. I mean, hell, she's been toting around a giant snake, so I'm sure that's burning through. Like, I don't know if you look at it as more like her stamina's being drained, or whether you want to look at it more like she has an MP bar that's slowly ticking away, because we've already known about Ken's like limit of 2 full throttles and he's done. We've always known about that's always been his limitation for a while. So, but this is our first time seeing like her really kind of get pushed to this point that her powers won't even summon up anymore, because she's tapped, you know? But because of that, it's so dire, because you're like, yo, he's going in for the kill. He's not listening to anybody. He knows what he wants, and that's all he's focused on. He's trying to wipe the floor of all of them, especially because in his eyes is like Manjiro, and he hates all humans in general, because he's like, his resentment against the Kido family, he's harboring against all humans, because he's like, you kind of let a lot of that slide and go about, so you're just as culpable and responsible. And he looks at it like Momo and Manjiro helping her, like that just makes them even more enemies to begin with. But before he could deal a blow to Momo, our good old boxing alien buddy from last season shows up. I'm like, oh shit, I was not expecting that. Something else I learned, I'm piecing this together because of the end of the episode. There's a new character that's introduced. You see him in the intro and the outro. Well, he might be, I'm trying to remember if I think he's in it. Yeah, he's definitely in the intro. He's also in the outro. He's the kind of like chubbier guy that's like in the outro, he's walking with the flashlight in his hand and down like the schoolway hallway. It wasn't until paying close attention to the outro you can see him with like the boxing alien's hat with like eyes on its head, and he's playing with boxing guy's kid. And I was like, wait, is that the boxing alien? I'm blanking on his name. They said in the episode, but that boxing alien, I'm like, is that him in human form? Because it's probably not going to be the same thing. Well, because we are dealing like, that's an alien situation versus like Gigi's situation, Gigi, Ira, and Ken's situation all being yokai related. So I don't think that's, not unless that's a human who's melding with him, but I the way he's acting with the kid and he's holding the kid a lot of times during the outro, I'm like, is that him in humanness? Because I also assume like, oh, is that like a one of the new students or something? Like, oh, he might actually be a teacher, because we see Psycho there as well, and that's why I was saying like Manjiro's there as well. So I'm like, are they gonna, like, is Psycho gonna start working at the school? Does Manjiro transfer to that school? And is boxing alien like a teacher at this, gets hired as a teacher at the school? That's what it feels like. I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even piece that together since his introduction. It's kind of like the intro to season 1, where you're like, oh my god, there's so much of the season right in front of you, but until you get the context in the episode and realize like, oh my god, like there's so much of this season story is right there in front of you. It's so random and out of context, and you're like, oh, there's so many story beats that are in the intro. You just didn't realize otherwise. So it's kind of almost like, oh, looking at it with brand new eyes now that he's back into the show. Doing his thing, piecing up Gigi, well, Evil Eye, but even he can't do it alone. And he's not alone, because here comes Psycho riding Taro, the living mannequin, down. And like, I love the ship is like singing a song about everything that's going on. Well, it's boxing dudes. What was it? Chiquita. I'm butchering the name, but his son is also doing better because of the cow's milk and stuff like that. It's much like their blood, the whole thing from last season. So that's kind of cute. So I'm curious to find out what they've been up to, and we'll probably learn next episode what they've been up to, what brought them back to Earth. I mean, because it does beg the question, like, why are they here? Like, how they know to show up now? Like, because Psycho must have already been prepared. Well, maybe Manjiro got in contact with her before he came to save Momo, or maybe Psycho contacted him and then he pieced it together. Oh, Momo is who you were talking about. Shit's going down. We might need help. Maybe we'll get some clarification on that. But also, the three of them working together too. boxing dude, Psycho, especially Psycho putting in work. She never, from what we can see in the fight, she never took a direct hit from Evil Eye. She is very experienced fighter. She's evading stuff. They're like clashing with like her bat and his leg. It was actually so dope. The camera work, and then boxing dude trying to land his blows as well. But then like Taro coming in and he's rushing at Gigi and gets broken into pieces. I was like, well, he can form around you, but especially because there's seals inside of him and Manjiro is performing a ritual and then they form around him like a suit of armor and locks him in place. I was like, that's actually so sick. That whole sequence was effing dope. So I thought that was amazing. And even like, Psycho's trying to chastise Manjiro, but he's like, sorry about that. But Master, you were kind of at fault here. I'm hoping you would just kind of praise me for showing up and helping what I did. She's like, well, you're not half bad. He's like, thank you, Master. But then like, the first thing that crossed Momo's mind, she didn't even wait around because the alien ship is carrying the corpse of the serpent and is spraying the liquid everywhere to help alleviate some of that. Because I was like, that's a lot to deal with and that's too much for Momo, especially because her powers are tapped. But she rushes back to the house and she can't use her powers to lift up the debris. So Boxing Dude breaks through it, but it's a lava pit there, and she's devastated because she's like, no, it can't happen. Because for her, it's like, I promised Ken that I would save him, and I didn't. I failed him. I broke my promise. And I knew he'd be okay, but I was thinking like the shtick was gonna be like, oh, they're already saved, and so for her, it's like, all right, like bring that bring the serpent over here so we can spray some stuff. Because for her, it's like, I don't care if I have to jump in. I'm going to find them. I have to. Ken can't be dead, but the Sons, I guess using some sensors, figured they were still alive. So like uses the I guess you almost call it tractor beam of the ship to bring up a piece of it, and you're like, the mucus from the serpent protected them, and so cooled it off and then ripped it open. I mean, Momo was burning her hands, but she's like, I don't care. Rips it open. You find Ken and Turbo Granny, which she didn't even realize Turbo Granny was there. She was like, huh, because she was more so concerned about Ken. She wasn't even, at no point did she think about, oh, Turbo Granny might have been down there too, because she didn't care. All she cared about was Ken and seeing that he's okay, like. The moment like everything was going down, like the mucus protected him. So it's like even Ken's like, yo, if I had never like gone back to try and save Turbo Granny, I probably would be dead right now. And so while leaving the shell, he kind of trips into her chest and he's freaking out. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. And then her hugging him and tearing up because she's like, no, like, I'm sorry. I promised to save you and I couldn't and I didn't. But she's just like, thank goodness you're alive. For her, that's all that matters. I'm like, that's so adorable and that's so cute, Because obviously it's like he likes her, she likes him, but neither one of them knows how the other really, really feels. So, but it's just this beautiful moment where it's just like, well, you obviously know how much she cares about you, but you still don't know where you stand because you're probably like, well, she's just, acting like that as a friend, But there's more to it because she was terrified something would have happened to Ken and thought it did, the worst did. But luckily, he's okay. They're all okay. So quite a beautiful, I was about to say conclusion, but things aren't over yet because, well, we still got to get Evil Eye out of Gigi, and that's probably still not going to be the easiest thing. So I think the next episode is basically about performing an exorcism to get that out of Gigi. But like, how do you resolve that situation? Where does Evil Eye go after that? Does he kind of finally pass on? Will he have a similar ending to Acrobatic Silky? Or what? And once again, will Gigi maintain some of these powers? Will Evil Eye kind of be a part of him, kind of like Turbo Granny's powers are for Ken? Because Turbo Granny's still around, unlike Acrobatic Silky, who's gone, but her powers are still in Ira. So I'm curious to see whose constitution he's closer to at the end result of this. It'd be interesting if the twist was he doesn't keep these powers, that they go away, but maybe this experience leads to something else for him battle-wise. I don't know. I'd be so curious to see. Because I bring it up all the time. Because Ira and Ken's constitutions are so close, I assumed, like, I think I brought this up last season too, like, I thought Gigi's circumstances would be closer to Momo's. And they do bring up the fact is he has spiritual powers, so it might be like, it might manifest different, will probably manifest differently than her psychic abilities, but he might have something along the lines of, kind of what Evil Eye can do, but more on a psychic level rather than like the transformative sense like Ken and Ira. But we'll have to wait to see where the next episode ends up taking us with all of this. I'm also curious to see like what is the pure aftermath of everything, because it's like what happens to the Keto family after this, because you can't just like be let go after your family for generations have led human sacrifices for the wrong thing. Like everything that you believed in and made sacrifices towards was complete and utter wrong, complete and utter bullshit. So you can't just like get away with that. So I'm so curious to see what the aftermath is going to be for them in that regard. What does this say for the town? Do they finally take action and try and arrest the Keto family now, and there's no like brushing that under the rug, having cops act as kind of like their inside person? I don't know. That's going to be really, really interesting to see. And obviously, like I said, get some answers about like, yo, why is Boxing Alien and his son here? How they meet up with Psycho. I was about to say like also why is Taro here? But like the whole point is like every night, he's able to come. He's supposed to come and visit his love Hana at the temple, right? Because she's still there, if I remember correctly from last season, but I could be wrong. So that would make sense why him and Psycho are together, but like how you lump all that together. I guess they probably stopped by to try and pay them a visit. Like, hey, we're in this star part of the solar system. We wanted to step by and say hi, and just it all worked out. Like I said, hopefully we get some of those conversations next episode. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.